working in that particular muscle group are going to have a tough time.
And we're off now, so we are into this second heat of event number 4 for the male elite competition. Ben, your thoughts on this workout, having seen how the athletes approached it in the first heat, both Bronislav Alenkovic and Josh Elchama doing well and performing well in that. How well do you think their times will stack up against this group of 18 athletes?
You know, they're both big guys and both known for having big shoulders, and I think Chris's point about the hip flexor dominance from the run and that fatigue setting in, especially as they then move on to the toes to bar, that's certainly going to be a sticking point. But what people don't understand is, as that midline fatigues and then they have to start moving the dumbbells, that's really where we're going to see, do they have that midline connection to transfer the big power from their glutes, their quads, their hips through their shoulders and get the work done there.
I think that's an incredible point. People seem to forget that you have to be able to transfer the power from the upper body to the lower body, or vice versa. And if you are not focusing your training on midline stabilization, then you're going to have a degradation of that power. And this workout at the tail end, if you cannot control that weight overhead, you're not going to do well. Yeah, I think that this workout is incredibly well written because it's a test of whether or not people did their homework.
Be interesting to see which of these athletes did do their homework. We'll just run through the full lane allocation. So as we're coming from left to right, so nearest on the screen, they're in lane 2. That's Fernando Thaneza. In lane 3, it's Harold Holgersen. In lane 4, it's David Sharonki, who won the rowing event. In lane 5, it's Alex Katoulis. In lane 6, it's Daniel Skov. In lane 7, Nikolai Biladel. In lane 8 is Will Murad. In lane 9, Georges Karavis. In lane 10, our current overall leader, Lucas Hogberg. In lane 11, it's Matt Fraser. In lane 12, Roman Felino. In lane 13, it's Sam Stewart. In lane 14, Andre Uday. In lane 15, Zach George. Lane 16, Kyle Bernier. Lane 17, Austin Berlin. Lane 18, Scott Cottrell. And then lane 19, it's Alex Imbert. If you were to call a winner on this, outside of maybe Matt Fraser or Lucas Hogberg, who would you be picking for this? Chris, firstly you, and then Ben, who would you select?
Oof. I mean, this is a tough one just because of the damage that was done in the first day. Athletes that are looking at the season and truly looking at the month of August as a target point, it's hard to say who's truly in that top peak form. Will Murad has always proven to be consistent, but in this event, you know what, you got to look at true strength, power output, and that size. This has a 75 calorie assault bike, and the fact is that if you have bigger levers on that assault bike, you have a competitive advantage. So I would think that somebody that's taller is going to dominate in this workout, which ironically, Matt Fraser being at 5'7" is not considered one of the taller athletes, but Matt generates power.
Well, here we go. Matt is the first man onto the bar, even though having 2 failed wall balls there, looking a little bit fatigued, but he is the first man onto the bar. Chris mentioned potentially a taller man with bigger levers, Ben. Would you look at somebody like David Sharonki or Lucas Hogberg as being guys who could potentially perform well in this?
Absolutely. I think, you know, the toes to bar will perhaps be a little bit damage control for the larger athlete, but then once they've got through, then it's go time. They want to move nicely on the bike and then get to work on those double dumbbell shoulder to overhead, because we know that mass moves mass. And I think David Sharonki, with his gas tank, is going to be looking to move up that leaderboard.
Look at that tattoo.
It's a big piece of work, isn't it?
Boy, so I happened to be with Matt. We did a 2-hour master class. We did it at Rogue in Europe, and then went down through Zurich, and then hit Milan, and then went to Monopoly at the southern end. And that was a 2-day project, and I have never seen Matt suffer the way that he experienced through that tattoo.
So more pain in the tattoo than he's ever experienced in a workout.
Oh my gosh, it should be a form of training. I mean, I've never seen a guy with so much damage. Yeah, it was truly incredible.
Interesting that this is, since the Open, this is Matt's first competitive competition. It's the first time he's entered into competition this year. He had a bit of a rest, a bit of escape. Do you think that's... What sort of mental state would he be in coming into this competition after such a rest? Is it like, I've got to just dial myself in slowly, or is he looking to win this competition? Because I imagine he's a character that wants to win everything he enters.
Matt, actually, his methodology is, I want to be the hardest working athlete in the sport. I want to make sure that I'm doing more work, I'm more intelligent about my approach. And that's one of the things that he did, was partnering up with Tia Toomey and Shane Orr, that now he has the fittest woman on earth, but she's not a competitor. It would be, imagine him picking the second best CrossFit athlete in the world as a male. He would then be elevating that person to help them. And he is not interested in that. What he's always done is he's worked with the best of the best on the women's side. And those two, they go at it hard every day. Matt's fit. He's really fit. But the eye is on the prize, which is coming for him in August.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, just thoughts on how Lucas is doing there on the bar. We spoke about him obviously being a bigger man, a little bit tougher. Dave Sharonki as well, having a look at him. He's looking pretty smooth. Obviously, a bit of a rest now. Let's see how how quickly he can get back on the bar. Matt is back on the bar. So remember, this workout is a long one. This is going to burn. There's a 20-minute time cap on this.
So you notice David's cadence compared to Matt's, and Matt's already done with his toaster bar, as we kind of expected. As he gets on this bike, he's just going to want to get the calories done relatively quickly, but I also think he'll be aware that these dumbbells are going to be where it's won or lost.
So what I find fascinating is the approach so far. You know, this is, like you guys said, it's a longer workout. You know, maybe, I mean, your thought process when you programmed it, you were thinking a time domain for the leaders was
around 14, 15 minutes.
Which is a long thing. So for any athlete, when they're looking at this workout and they've never done it before, the first thing that you have to do is you got to look at your time domain. How long is it going to take me as an athlete to perform? That defines your strategy. This is a pacing-based workout. That's why you see them breaking up wall balls in the toes-to bar. They can't take it out hot and hope they hang on.
The horrible thing about when you get on an assault bike is you can't break it up, though. There's no excuse to stop there, and I think often it's just holding a little bit back, a little bit more than you think, ready for the next station. You know, it's kind of like that speed bump in the middle of your workout.
That's why I think this workout's so beautiful, because having this placed right in the middle, you know, there's always sticking points in every workout, right? There's sticking points in terms of, you know, your energy and when do you make the move to sprint to the finish. But there's also sticking points in terms of movements. Without a doubt, everybody is looking at this assault bike as being, wow, I just got to get through that.
Absolutely, just get the work done.
That was something similar to what Rich Froning said about the team element with the assault bike, is that it was a bit of a killer. He said everything leading up to the assault bike was okay. The assault bike just sort of threw the cat into the air and was like, see where it fell down and see what happens, right? It's throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, and the body then reacts differently after the assault of the assault bike.
Yeah, so, you know, look at Fraser when he takes his look. So when I said earlier him being in lane 11, yes, he's in the middle of the field, but all of his primary competitors are to his right. It makes it easy for him to look down the line, and people always want to know, like, what's he looking at? You know, because he can't tell how many cows they have. But the tell is he can look at their level of breathing.
Yes, like you mentioned yesterday.
Right, so if you watch and look at athletes, just their chest move, that's the tell. And you can't fake that. Their demand for oxygen is based upon that rate the chest is coming out and coming back in again. And you know what? If you see that rapidly moving, that athlete, if that's happening now, they are in deep trouble, and they're going to have to slow down, or they're going to end up putting their hands on their knees.
It's interesting how Lucas keeps going from seated to standing. I haven't used the assault bike that much. Chris, why do you think he might be doing that?
So the thing is that...
So this is Matt, sorry to interrupt, Chris, this is Matt Fraser's screen, so we can see he's coming at the 55 calories burned in 3 minutes 19 seconds. So he is the man setting the pace. We'll see if we can have a look at any of the other athletes.
So the key there was the RPMs. Look at the RPMs. So he was running around 68 RPMs on average. So Matt knows, based upon the time domain of this workout, right, so 12 to 15 minutes, that 68 RPMs is a primary intensity that he should maintain through the entire portion. He's sitting right now at his maximum sustainable pace on the assault bike, and he knows that 68 RPMs, just as like we talked yesterday, he was sitting there and he ran at 6-minute mile pace.
So we've got David Sharonki on the right at 67 calories. Sorry, David Sharonki on the left at 52 calories and Matt Fraser at 68. But RPM slightly down for David. So going back to your point, Chris, he's obviously working at a slightly lower threshold there.
That's correct. So what these athletes always want to do is they always look at different metrics for them. They look at their meters, they look at their RPMs, and they also look at their speed. You've got to know all of them.
So Matt Fraser is into the final half calorie for him to get, and he will be coming off the assault bike. There he is. He's going to be moving now into the dumbbells shoulder to overhead. And Lucas Högberg is back out of the saddle, and we didn't quite get to finish that thought on that, Chris. Just technique-wise, is that just helping him to conserve and recover a little bit? Is that to make it more comfortable for him? And actually, just looking on the other side of that's Georges Caravis, who's also off the bike, looking good. And we'll be interested to see how Dave Sharonki gets on further down the line.
I mean, I would expect Georges to do well. The guy's got a good engine, long time domains. This is something when he looked at it and said, you know what, 12 to 15 minutes, he's licking his chops. He wants this event. This is a good one for him. No, so the reason why people are standing is because it's a smart move. I mean, that's a sophisticated athlete. When you stay seated, you use a certain set of muscle groups. When you stand, you use a different set of muscle groups. So it's a way for you to maintain your power output and allows other muscle groups to recover. It's smart. The other thing that these athletes are doing is they're actually manipulating the amount of power they're using with their legs versus their arms. So they're giving their chance to rest. If you notice at the tail end for Fraser, he was using way less arms because he's going into an arm-based movement. He's got to allow his arms to clear that lactic acid so that he's fresh coming into the next piece.
And with that stud means you get to get the full advantage of your body weight going through the pedals and you're not having to use those arms.
That's correct. And that's why mountain climbers, they actually, when they climb big mountain passes, they're out of the saddle leveraging their power output.
So it's interesting to see that Matt Fraser is obviously ahead in this heat, but Andre Ude and Georges Caravis are pushing him hard, and actually Caravis, knowing where he sits in the overall rankings right now, he's got Lucas Högberg very much in his sights, because if he can get ahead of Högberg, he will get his invitation to the games, and that is huge for Caravis. Dave Sharonki, we saw a little bit on the wide shot, was looking up and down the line. He was in 4th place. Be interested to see if his extra potential strength and levers gives him the opportunity to put himself into a position where he can get himself into a top 3 or top 4 finish. But here's Matt Fraser.
I gotta say, the weight that was selected for this movement is really incredible. If this was really heavy, the dumbbell speed would be very slow. The thing is these guys are moving that dumbbell at a very high rate of speed, which is creating a level of fatigue that's exponentially more difficult. The pain that's going to come into the last and final movement is going to be immense. And now they've got to go into a static hold with all of that buildup and maintain it. This thing progressively gets worse and worse and worse. And if you're not an experienced athlete, you'll get to that walking lunge and go, what is happening?
This is a fantastic shot down the arena, Ben. It's great to see so many athletes so close. And you can see Georges Caravis has definitely got Matt Fraser in his sights. Sharonki's taking a bit of a breather here just to try and catch his breath. But Sharonki's in at the far end. Zach George, Andre Ude. There's 5 athletes there who are all going for this to try and claim a lot of points to the overall rankings.
Well, also don't underestimate how cardiovascularly challenging this push press is. And the other thing about it is, as Chris mentioned, when you've got 2 dumbbells to stabilize over your head and then go to one where you're just holding. The fatigue through the shoulders and the high heart rate is going to make that lunge so much harder. But having said that, Matt seems to be tearing down the track, looking like he's having no problem with that dumbbell.
You know, that's the thing, is a lot of people think, oh, Matt's right arm, it's not doing anything. But the fact is that static hold, there's no muscle groups being moved. And so the lactate that he just accumulated on a massive level is just sitting there.
Not being flushed out.
Nope. And so what does every muscle want to do there? They're just shutting down on him. The number one thing when you have that amount of lactate is that just don't quit. But every single fiber in your body is saying, you know what, put it down.
Sharonki in second place. Sharonki again, another strong performance after his tough day yesterday. But we look at him, Matt Fraser, you can see his scene turn around to his last few feet. He'll be sprinting for the finish here. And Ben, you called 14 to 15 minutes. It looks like Matt's going to be winning it in just shy of 16. So here he goes. This is Matt Fraser taking the event win. Phenomenal performance. But Ben, thoughts on that performance by him, but also Dave Sharonki looks like he could be claiming second place.
Incredible performance by Matt there. You know, he kind of showed us how to do it, but he was constantly checking down the line, really being pushed, and it looks like David is going to cross the line. Well done, David.
Wow.
Really massive placings for him, and he's going to kind of be hoping to move his way up that leaderboard.
That result for him after the event win in the rowing, granted half the points available, but that second place could shoot him up the charts. And obviously Georges Caravis, you can see him there in the middle of the floor. He's just got the last couple. There he is.
But here comes Lucas.
Lucas Hoburg. There could be a sprint here. This is a phenomenal potential finish here coming up. Caravis has to go unbroken here. He has to try and make these last few lunges count. No, he's there. He's going to get that third place. That could be enough for him to put him into that first spot. Be interested to see. There's Hoburg crossing the line. I'm just trying to see if Andre Uday has crossed the line yet, but keep an eye out further on the floor. There is Uday crossing the line. So nothing between these guys out here. This is actually phenomenal to see these top male athletes going so closely toe-to-toe on this workout.
Incredible.
Also really, really good to see that, you know, all of them, it looks like, are going to manage to get in under the time cap. So fair play. That is a lot of work to have got done in such a tight time frame. And then they've got a pretty quick turnaround before they have to sort of start lifting a heavy barbell. Bit of confusion.
Zach George is there trying to make his final lunge. There he is. Zach George is getting the raptures of the crowd. Remember, he has qualified for the games as the #1 athlete in the UK, so he has done a brilliant job to get his invitation. So it'll be great to see how he performs, and he's certainly showing why he earned that spot on the back of that effort and early efforts in this championship.
I wonder how Will Murad's doing in lane 8.
Yeah, where is Will?
Thought he would be up there. Right now, there's Daniel Skov flying in next to David. Looks like Will's just advancing. Final few lunge steps, but there's a lot of places that have come in ahead of him, so that's going to see him perhaps move down the leaderboard. So another event where we see some moving going on.
But having made such a good impression in the row and putting himself into the top 8, he may suffer a little bit now on the back end of that. Now these guys have got just over 2 hours recovery until event 5 for them today. Clean Bandit. The first heat of that will be at 16:10. So not a lot of time to recover. Chris, your thoughts on the recovery window for these athletes as they go into the event 5 and the final event for them today?
So the next 30 minutes for them is critical. I mean, they need to obviously look at their nutrition, but the other thing is they just accumulated a massive amount of lactic acid that is spread throughout their entire body. They need to be going into an active recovery protocol. The assault bike is a very good option for them if they do it in training. If they do a nice active recovery protocol, they can clear the bulk of their lactic acid out of their bodies in about 20 minutes. And now what they can do is they can take it nice and easy until that event. At the end of the day, It comes down to the amount of work that they've done in their training. That's really what it's going to be.
Sorry, Chris, that's Sam Stewart crossing the line there. We also saw Scott Cottrell crossing the line, and there in the near end, there's Alex Imbert. He looks like he's just going to beat the time cap, is he? Yes, he is. Well done to him, just under the time cap, so gets the completion. So, giving himself a good chance of some decent points. Fascinating to see that entire workout play out. Sorry, Chris, I interrupted your comments there on that recovery and getting ready for event number 5. It's not a lot of time. You're talking about that capacity to use the assault bike potentially just to help ease them off and get themselves into preparation mode. How critical is the next half an hour in preparation for 2 hours' time?
Without a doubt, the next 30 minutes is critical. And these athletes, what they need to do is stay focused in their game plan. These athletes should all have a ritual, and it's their post-recovery ritual, and that should be something that they do in the gym every single day. And I always like, as a coach, to watch other athletes, and they tend to get distracted because they're in this incredible venue and they don't have this ritual, or they deviate. That's a mistake.
And is that a danger of an event such? Actually, we're going to go down to Lauren. Lauren's got Matt Fraser down there. Over to you, Lauren.
Cheers, guys. Yes, I have. Matt, congratulations. Another event win. Coming into this one, you were 17 points behind Lucas Högberg. Does that drive that performance?
It changes nothing. My score doesn't determine how I'm approaching workouts. I knew the best way I needed to approach that. I knew the previous score to beat, so I definitely rested a little bit near the end. But no, I came into this one pretty nervous. A lot of the guys over here, you breed them big. Like, some of the shortest guys here are like 6'2". So I knew I would have to hammer on that bike and just try to hang on.
Tell me about that row earlier today. How did you find that?
It was fun. I wish I had more time to get out there and, just get the technique down. Once again, a lot of big boys out here, so a bit more reach, but I enjoyed it. I look forward to it, putting it into my training when I get home.
You are going to absolutely hate me for this, but Wikipedia tells me that it is your birthday. How old are we?
Yeah, today's my 30th birthday. 20s are over.
20s are over. So guys in the arena, maybe you can help me by giving Matt a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Louder, guys.